Hey guys, my name is Brady and welcome back to the classroom. Today we're going over a way to get 8 different looks while using just one light. Some of these uses are a little bit more practical, some are a little bit more creative uses to really just spice up those unique shots, but all of them can be done with either just some modifiers or some reflectors, but like I said before, one light, so let's dive into this. The light that I'm gonna be using for this is the Nanlite Forza 200. It's a daylight 5600 Kelvin single source fixture, so it's pretty standard for any key light. So let's dive into the first look. We all absolutely love sun flares, or at least I personally absolutely love sun flares. So to add some spice to your shot, you can use your light source and put it outside, shining through the window to really emulate a sun and pointing that at the lens to get some really cool sun flares, especially on anamorphic lenses, as you can see. But don't worry, you don't need anamorphic lenses to get this sun flare look. A lot of spherical lenses cast some really cool flares as well. But diving in to get this particular look, I took a Forza 200 and I put the Fresnel attachment on it. And what a Fresnel attachment does is essentially just focuses in the beam to a really tight beam angle as the sun might, as it's shining through the window, as the sun rays are naturally. You definitely don't need this attachment. You can definitely do it with just a standard reflector dish, but it just adds a little bit more to the authenticity of it. So I put that Forza outside, shining through just a little cut in the curtain, shining at the camera, so it had a nice flicker of flare as Sarah walks by, and the flare kind of goes in and out and really pops the second she walks by it. And this was literally the only light that we had here for this shot, was that one shining through the window as the sun. The rest, the ambient room lighting, was just natural daylight shining through the rest of the house. So now your shot has a little bit more texture and isn't as flat, and adds some spice to things, especially on like a cloudy day when everything is really smooth and even. There's not that much contrast. Adding in some fake sun does a really good job. And another option using hard light, meaning it's not being cast through any diffusion to soften it up, is come at an angle to your subject. And what that does is create a lot of sharp contrast and edges. And oftentimes using hard light really does a great job portraying either like rugged or grungy or scary characters, oftentimes in horror and thriller movies. And by doing that, you've got a really bright side of the face and also a really dark, shadow-driven contrast side of the face. And a lot of that shadow leaves the viewer kind of in some mystery, or sorry, the subject in some kind of mystery. It's definitely far from a very pleasant, soft light, but it definitely serves its own unique purpose. And please take note of my wonderful acting. Clearly, it looks like I'm off to commit some kind of really bad crime. Roast me in the comments, I don't know, but moving on. So the next look is extremely versatile, and I might argue it being the most commonly used lighting technique. And one name for that is the Rembrandt lighting, or Rembrandt style, or Rembrandt triangle. You may have heard it as. And ultimately, that name came after a painter in the Netherlands in the 1600s named Rembrandt van Rijn. And he was notorious for creating his paintings in a way that the lighting direction would be cast on his subjects, on his portraits, where the light creeped over the nose and rolled off so nicely to leave a nice, pleasant little triangle on that shadow side of their face, adding a lot of dimension to the subject's face. And that style of lighting blew up and exploded, especially in the photography and cinematography world in the century since. Guys, Sarah just brought me the most childish dinner ever. It's a hot dog with mac and cheese. Anyway, to get this look, soft light is crucial. So I personally use my parabolic softbox. If you don't have anything like that, diffusing the light with even something like a thin white bed sheet just to soften it up, that's really important. And then second to that, the direction that the light comes is just as important. So you wanna direct that light in a way that's kind of 45 degrees high and then 45 degrees to the side of your subject, just enough to get the side light that wraps it around the face. And go ahead and move the light around to really experiment to see when that soft roll off and triangle that you see here really appear. And then also to keep the light looking natural and not so sourcey. The practical light in the background motivated me to put on a color temperature orange gel onto the light as well, just to match that, so it looked like the light was coming from the practical that you see in the background. So everything, again, once more, didn't look sourcey and looked real and natural. And in the same scene, another look that we can get is really a soft edge light or a soft rim light. And this does a great job at accentuating your subject's profile and showing off their body language a lot more than just facial expressions and seeing their actual face. And to get this, you almost move the light source still being soft and diffused as it was before, but you almost move it behind the subject and bringing the light source high enough up so it's out of frame. And this is a really cool low-key look to play around with, to really switch things up a little bit. And to get a little bit more control of your light, you can use a grid, and really essentially what a grid does on the front of your diffusion is direct the light to where you want it. So it's not going to be spilling throughout the room, wrapping around her face because we don't want that, or bouncing around on the walls. So I use that grid really to keep that outline on the profile really distinct and just keep it isolated. Look number, I think 5. And I know I've touched on it before, but I want to touch on it once more. And it's a little bit more creative technique, and that's by motivating your light to be illuminating the room as if a TV would. Pretty much your motivated light is based off of a television. So to do that, I took the Forza 200. This time I just had a reflector dish right on the front of it, and I actually bounced it away from our set, away from Sarah, and then bounced it off of a white reflector and really waved it around and flapped it around. And that essentially just changes the intensity that's coming on her as a TV might. So it helps if you have a monitor to like look back on and see what's going on with your light and see how you're doing, and just play around with it that way. And also another alternative, a lot of LED fixtures nowadays actually have an effect for TV like this Forza does, and really all of the Nanlite Forza lights have that. And ultimately what you can do is just point it directly at your subject and diffuse it there and have that TV mode on, and it really almost does the same thing, just taking one step out of the way. And while we're on the creative train for a little while, let's stay on that once more and talk about this look that's definitely very unique, but it's a really good way to think outside of the box, even though you can't use it for every single shot, and that's motivating your light based off of a car's headlights, either driving by or pulling up. And to do that, I took the Forza outside, and I had a Fresnel attachment since cars' headlights are pretty focused and direct, and all I did was just swing that by the window that Sarah was sitting on the couch by. The rest of the scene was just lit by that practical lamp that you see there, and I made sure to direct it in a way that would cast a lot of reflection and shadow on the wall and her as well, and you can see in the window the lights brushing by. But that's really it, a super unique way to emulate a car driving by or something like that, really bring the scene outside of the room and outdoors and see what's going on out there. It's just a fun little touch that I wanted to add since I've done that in one of my recent projects. And another creative look with the Fresnel, or really any other hard light source, it doesn't have to be that focused, is to backlight your subject. So I got Sarah playing the piano, and I brought the Forza outside and backlit her and just kind of snuck the light right behind her a little bit and moved the camera around to get that occasional light flare or light hit, and that was the only light I had there. And then one other element that I added was haze, and haze did a really good job of bringing up that ambience as the light hit it, so it wasn't just really dark and the light and Sarah playing piano and that was it. It added a lot more atmosphere, and I've also noticed that haze does a really good job of still acting as a little bit of a bounce or a reflection or some sort, just to wrap the light around her face a little bit more and bring up that shadow ambience. So I was even really impressed and surprised and excited about this shot being only one light, and it was a super cool way to do it. So that's another creative touch, and that brings us to our last one, which is a very practical usage, and that's top light. And top lighting does a very awesome job of looking very natural and ambient, especially when it's diffused. So one way that you can get top lighting is just point your light fixture directly at the ceiling and let the ceiling do the job of bouncing and diffusing and dispersing that light. And it does a great job of filling in a lot of the shadows in the frame and bringing up that room tone. And if you really want to spice it up a little bit and get a modifier, lanterns do a really awesome job. I've got the Nanlite lantern, and I fixed that overhead, just pointing straight down to fill in the entire room. And then also, if you kind of want to direct the light, almost like the grid in the previous scene, there's something that's like a skirt. So you can just tie that skirt around and it directs it. It keeps it from spilling on the back walls. And another cheaper alternative to one of these lanterns is even those Chinese lanterns. I think they're like $5 at Home Depot. And you can do that with a trash bag around it. And that can also tie off, you know, like a little fabric grid or a negative fill grid to still control some of the lighting. And that's a significantly cheaper alternative. And there you have it, 8 really, really fun and exciting, both practical and creative ways to light your scene with just one light. And between you and me, I was pretty impressed with the outcome. I mean, I got excited about a lot of the shots. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you found this helpful. And if so, feel free to like this, share this, subscribe if you have not. But one more thing is, I also made a Discord. I think that's the name of the app. Sorry, I'm new to it. I'm not completely familiar, but I made a Discord for the community due to popular request, and I made it as a place that people can connect, make friends, give advice, ask for critique or gear help, anything like that. So I'll leave the information down below. It's called Brady's Classroom, but everything is gonna be down below for you to find it. Please join it, join the community. I don't want it to just be me talking to the camera and then off into Neverland. We're all a family here. So with that, I wanna wish you one more happy holidays, because I think, you know, we're creeping up on the holiday season and end of the new year. I don't know, I'm rambling. Class is dismissed. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.